Welcome back to Speaking Llama, a Survivor podcast. We are here with the fifth person voted out from Australian Survivor, Heroes versus Villains. Sarah, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We are excited to talk to you. So one of the things that we do every single year for every Survivor season is we pick a fantasy tribe. And unfortunately for him, Alex actually picked you for his tribe. So I was somewhat glad to see you go because I had Angeli and she was already gone. So I needed to catch up. But
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it was a blast to root for you. So really fun.
Thank you.
You're always welcome on Team Alex. So it was great.
Yeah. Well, our first question for you was being one of the new players coming on, not one of the returners. What was your strategy going into the season and how did it change once you got there?
I didn't realize that there would be so many returnees.
Okay.
So actually my strategy going into the competition changed completely because I thought I would have a lot more newbies and we could connect with that. My strategy was to be friends with absolutely everyone and sort of be behind the scenes. No one felt too pressured to send me out because I wasn't someone who they couldn't trust. I wasn't a threat. But as we know, that ended up backfiring because I didn't really build those strong alliances. I was just sort of in the middle there and just friends with everyone. So to get rid of me, obviously, wasn't a big loss for them.
Yeah, and usually, being in the middle is a good place to be. But yeah, it was sad to see you go because of that. I'm curious too, part of the reason we saw, at least for your exit, was, Simon and his group thought you were closer to George. George and his group thought you were closer to Simon. Who were you closest to out there? Who was your true allegiance there?
So I was working with both, as we know, but my true alliance, I thought, sat with Geordie and Simon because I wanted George gone just as much as they did. And George figured that out. He thought, look, we actually can't trust Sarah because she's working with both of us and we don't know whose side she's really on. So I get it. Simon thought I was close with George because I was constantly talking strategy with him, but then I was also talking strategy with Simon, who wanted George out. So that's where it got me into a bit of a pickle. And they thought, look, neither of us can trust her. We need to get rid of her.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you, for that vote, did you expect it at all? Based off the edit, it looked like you were shocked by it.
No, because as you could see, I was a part of those conversations.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, when you're seeing those private conversations, they are so good at changing the topic when you walk over. Like when I would walk over to the girls, they would be talking about the challenge today. And I'm like, oh yeah, like how amazing was it? Da-da-da. Not realizing that they completely changed the topic and they're like, Sarah's coming, Sarah's coming. I was just so oblivious because I felt like I was close with the Spice Girls and also Geordie and Fraze and Simon. So it was shocking. I'm still trying to adjust what happened because it's brutal. And I did not see it coming. It was, very brutal.
Yeah. Well, one thing I appreciated about you too, when the votes were read, I can imagine it was a big blindside, but you were very gracious. You were very, kind about it. And those are the people I want to root for. Right. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
My question for you is, I think as viewers, we're all sitting here wondering after last night's episode, why didn't the rest of the tribe vote out George? From your perspective, what do you think?
So as they were saying, the returnees saw George as a shield. Yeah. Because everyone in the whole entire competition wants George gone. And they thought the further they can bring George, the safer that they will be, which is true because they're going to go for George before anyone else. And it gives them time to strategize and build alliances and find idols. So I totally get it. But it was still shocking that they kept sending the newbies out when I thought, no, but you can really build alliances with these newbies. But I guess it's something as simple as going in the cookie jar, you can't be trusted. Being too intense, like Michael, can't be trusted. Angeli, unfortunately, she was so wonderful, but she was older and we needed to win challenges because we're bloody starving. We haven't eaten in days. So I totally get it. But they just saw George as a shield that would protect them.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Like, if I don't know that I wouldn't have a similar strategy. I think they're playing with fire a little bit. We've seen George play really well from that position. But one of the things I think we always see with seasons with returners on them is there's always this question of, right, they have experience. And I'm always wondering, how much are they wanting to work together because they know they're all targets? Was there any talk among the new players on your tribe of, hey, we need to vote out the returners because they're just going to get farther because they're going to work together?
Yeah, you know what? There really wasn't.
Okay.
Us newbies actually didn't cling together. And I think because we needed the support of the returnees to help us through the competition, to give us strategies. How do you survive? And that's why I was with George and Simon, because they both had different views on how to play the game. And I even thought that they would be great shields because I'm a newbie. No one sees us as threats because we don't know the game as well as the returnees do. But it ended up completely backfiring. The newbies, just fell into needing support from the returnees because we're sheep and they're herding us together and we're blind. We don't know how to play the competition like they do. So that's why every single one of us found a returnee and we built a relationship with them.
Makes sense.
From your vantage point, at the time of your tribal council, who do you think is running the tribe at this point? At least in that moment.
Yeah, so while I was playing the game, I thought it was Simon. I thought Simon's calling the shots here. It's the Simon show. That's why you need to stay close with him, because at the end of the day, he can bring you along. And if he can trust you, he won't want to vote you out. But watching it back, it was a bit of a Simon and George. Simon had his little team, George had his little team, and they were just going head to head. So I get it. I wasn't in either team. That's the thing. I didn't pick a team, and that's dangerous because I totally get it. I do come across as a well-spoken person, and I know how to talk my way into things and persuade people. So I can see why I was seen as a threat. I couldn't be trusted by either team, and I'm a little sweet talker, and I can talk my way into absolutely anything. So I totally get it.
I mean, in a different world, that would be the perfect skill set to come in, right? But maybe with two like big time players like Simon and George, it wasn't the best just kind of strength to have. If you could go back and pick a team, who would you pick? Would you be Team Simon or would you be Team George?
It's so hard.
Yeah.
And this is what last night I was thinking. I was like, what team would I have picked? Because I feel like you're not safe with either of them. Because obviously I did have a relationship with the girls, but they had already built a relationship with George, and I didn't want that. I can't trust George. And that's why I was closer with Simon and Geordie. I think Simon and Geordie had more people wanting to join their alliance. So I think I would have really stuck to them, because at the end of the day, once you're with George, people see you as a toxic person and they're going to want to vote you out. So as soon as he gets voted out, everyone's going to vote you out afterwards because you were working with George, and George couldn't be trusted. So I think going back, I actually would have stuck with Simon, Geordie, Jerry, Fraser, Stevie. I think that would have been the smarter option for me.
Yeah, that's great. We on this podcast, we're big fans of Simon, so that's we like to hear that.
Simon,
one of my last questions for you, Sarah, being a heroes versus villains season, You were on the villains tribe. I will say your first confessional during the opening about Miss Grease and how if I did, she wouldn't get up. That was one of my favorite lines I think I've ever heard. It was so great, so well delivered, just absolutely hilarious. So thank you for that. Do you feel like you were on the right tribe?
I think I was very blessed to be on the villain side because, as you know, beauty queens have this standard. They have to say the right thing. They have to be the good girl. They have to act appropriately because they're constantly being watched and looked at by these younger females or even males, the generation. And there's a lot of pressure. So being popped on the villain side, it was really fun. I could really play that villain character. I could say what I wanted to say. I could do what I wanted to do. I mean, me at the end saying, George, I hope I never have to hear you talk about politics again. I could never say that if this was the real world. I have to just sit there and go, wow, that's fascinating, George. Interesting. So it was really nice to play into that and be myself when I wanted to. So it was a lot of fun. But look, either side could have been popped on the heroes because obviously Miss World, you travel around the world helping others. You do a lot of charity. But being popped on the villains, it was a lot of fun and I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, kind of like to that point, right? Having fun. We only see a very small portion of everything that y'all go through. What was something that you really appreciated or really valued about the experience that maybe we did not see on our screens?
I just really valued the support from everyone. I mean, you guys tend to see the scrambling and the hectic side of things where we need to vote someone out. But when it doesn't come time to that, everyone is a family and the support, it's really difficult. Starvation, you're just exhausted, and everyone really helped each other through it. Like there was times where there would be tears or we're missing home and you would just put your arm around him and you'd say, look, I feel the same way. Let's talk about it. So I really appreciated the support because we're all going through the same thing. But it's just crazy how quickly that can change when it's time to eliminate someone. And then you're like, wow, I thought we were friends, but here we are having to vote each other out. But I did really appreciate the support from everyone. No one was judgmental at all. We are all there to win and we're trying to get through each day. It's a long time. And everyone was just there to support each other. So it was really nice.
That's awesome. Well, kind of just to wrap us up, what is what are you taking away from this experience from playing on Survivor?
I'm taking away, and this might be a bit disappointing, that you seriously can't trust everyone who you come across, and you can't be the nice girl. It gets you nowhere in life to an extent. You can be nice, but you need to also stand up for what you believe in. And if something doesn't feel right, you need to do something about that. And that's something that I didn't do. I was being the nice girl, but I wasn't putting myself out there enough to build those alliances and say, you know what? I don't trust you. I'm going with this other person instead. So it's always important, I think, to do whatever you believe in and stick to that. You shouldn't have to be a people pleaser. And that's who I was. I was a people pleaser. I tried to please everyone, but you can't always do that.
Absolutely. That's a great word for all of us. Well, Sarah, we appreciate you taking the time this morning to come and chat with us. We wish you the best of luck, and maybe we'll see you on our screens again one day.
Maybe. Thanks so much for having me. Have a good week.
Hey, you too. Thanks.